Polar Express by Chris Van Allsburg. On Christmas Eve, many years ago, I lay quietly in my bed. I did not rustle the sheets. I breathed slowly and silently. I was listening for a sound that my friend told me that I would never hear, the ringing bells of Santa's sleigh. "Oh, there's no such thing as Santa," my friend had insisted. Oh, but I knew he was wrong. Late that night, I did hear a sound, though not of ringing bells. From outside came the sounds of hissing steam and squeaking metal. I looked through my window and I saw a train standing perfectly still in front of my house. It was wrapped in an apron of steam. Snowflakes fell lightly around it. A conductor stood at the open door of one of the cars and he took out a large pocket watch from his vest, then looked up at me at my window. I put on my slippers and my robe and I tiptoed down the stairs and out the front door. "All aboard!" the conductor cried out. I ran up to him. "Well," he said, "are you coming?" "Where?" I asked. "Why, to the North Pole, of course," was his answer. "This is the Polar Express." I took his outstretched hand and he pulled me aboard. The train, it was filled with other children, all in their pajamas and nightgowns, and we sang Christmas carols and ate candies with nougat centers as white as snow. We drank hot cocoa as thick and rich as melted chocolate bars. Outside, the lights of the towns and the villages flickered at a distance as the Polar Express raced northward. Soon, there were no more lights to be seen. We traveled through dark, cold forests where lean wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from our train as it thundered through the quiet wilderness. We climbed mountains so high it seemed as if we would scrape the moon, but the Polar Express had never slowed down. Faster and faster we ran along, rolling over peaks and through valleys just like a car on a roller coaster. The mountains turned into hills and the hills turned to snow-covered plains. We crossed a barren desert of ice, the great polar ice cap. Lights appeared in the distance. They looked like lights of a strange ocean liner sailing on a frozen sea. "There," said the conductor. "There's the North Pole." The North Pole was a huge city standing alone at the top of the world, filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. At first we saw no elves. "Oh, they're gathering at the center of the city," the conductor told us. "That's where Santa will give out the first gift of Christmas." "Well, who's going to get the first gift?" we asked. "Why, he's going to choose one of you." "Look!" shouted one of the children. "The elves!" Outside, we saw hundreds of elves. As our train drew closer to the center of the North Pole, we slowed to a crawl, so crowded were the streets with Santa's helpers. When the Polar Express could go no further, we stopped, and the conductor led us all outside. We pressed through the crowd to the edge of a large open circle, and in front of us stood Santa's sleigh. The reindeer were excited. They pranced and paced, ringing the silver sleigh bells that hung from their harnesses. Oh, it was such a magical sound, like nothing I'd ever heard. Across the circle, the elves, they moved apart, and Santa Claus appeared. The elves, they cheered wildly. He marched right over to us, and pointing at me, he said, "Let's have that fellow right there." He jumped into his sleigh. The conductor handed me up, and I sat right on Santa's knee. And he asked, Now, what would you like for Christmas?" Well, I knew that I could have any gift that I could imagine. The thing that I wanted most for Christmas was not inside Santa's giant bag. What I wanted more than anything was one silver bell from Santa's sleigh. When I asked Santa, he smiled, and then he gave me a hug and told an elf to go cut a bell from the reindeer's harness. The elf tossed it up to Santa, and he stood holding the bell high above him and called out, "The first gift of Christmas!" The clock struck midnight as the elves roared their approval. Santa handed the bell to me, and I put it in my bathrobe pocket. The conductor helped me down from the sleigh. Santa shouted out the reindeers' names and cracked his whip. His team charged forward and climbed into the air. Santa circled once above us and then disappeared in the cold, dark polar sky. As soon as we were back inside the Polar Express, the other children asked to see the bell. I reached down into my pocket, but nothing. The only thing I felt was a hole. I had lost the silver bell from Santa Claus's sleigh. "Let's hurry outside and look for it," one of the children said. But suddenly the train, it lurched forward and started moving. We were on our way home. It broke my heart to lose the bell. When the train had reached my house, I sadly left the other children. I stood in my doorway and I waved goodbye. The conductor said something from the moving train, but I couldn't hear him. "What?" I yelled out. "What did you say?" He cupped his hands around his mouth. "Merry Christmas!" he shouted. The Polar Express let out a loud blast from its whistle and sped away. Christmas morning, my little sister Sarah and we opened our presents, and when it looked as if everything had been unwrapped, Sarah found one last small box behind the tree. It had my name on it. Inside was the silver bell. And there was a note. "Found this in the seat of my sleigh. Fix that hole in your pocket." I shook the bell, and it made the most beautiful sound that my sister and I had ever heard. But my mother said, "Oh, that's too bad." "Yeah," said Father, "it's broken." When I'd shook the bell, my parents had not heard a sound. At one time, most of my friends could hear the bell, but as the years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even Sarah found that one Christmas, she could no longer hear its sweet sound. Though I've grown, bell still rings for me, as it does for all who truly believe.